It's a review of Morals and Dogma by Albert Pike. The review is done by Ralph Epperson. I don't know if you're familiar with him. I ran across Ralph Epperson from listening to Hour of the Time, and I found some episodes where William Cooper interviewed him, and thought it was interesting. And I found his address. Here it is here. You can call, and he'll send it to you. I think you just have to pay for the shipping and maybe send him an envelope. I forget what I paid him. It wasn't much. But when I called, he actually answered the phone, and I spoke to him for like 30, 40 minutes. He's a pretty neat dude, pretty nice guy. He's willing to talk for a long time. He'll answer questions, whatever you want. So I'm assuming he still answers the phone. I got this about 1.5 years ago, 2 years ago. And I'm just going to read some of this and some of the quotes. Book entitled Morals and Dogma was written in 1871 by Albert Pike, the Sovereign Grand Commander and the Masonic equivalent of the President, the Scottish Rite of Freemasonry from 1859 to 1891. Mr. Pike was born in 1809 and died in 1891. He became a 32nd degree Mason in 1853 and a 33rd degree in 1857. These terms will be discussed later. It might be helpful for the reader to know one particular fact about Mr. Pike's activity during the time he was writing the rituals. Henry Wilson Coyle, another 33rd degree Freemason, with the assistance of 3 other 33rd degree Masons, wrote Coyle's Masonic Encyclopedia in 1961. He added this biographical insight into Mr. Pike's past on page 620. Quote, in 1866, a group of retired veterans and other young men of Pulaski County, Tennessee, undertook to organize a social or recreational society, the name Kuklos, Greek for band or circle, being suggested, which was promptly converted into Ku Klux Klan, and Klan naturally followed. Notice the letter K is the 11th letter in the English alphabet. There are 3 Ks, so 3 times 11 is 33. Just an amazing coincidence, I'm sure. My phone's dying. Great. About that time, a body of bad Negroes and worse whites had begun a career of outrage against Southern whites, and the unusual social conditions prevailing caused the Ku Klux Klan to be organized in adjoining states, and the development went into its second stage, in which it revenged some wrongs and committed others of its own. Albert Pike was the chief judicial officer of the KKK. Mr. Coyle does not say it, but the purpose of the Ku Klux Klan was not to be a, quote, social or recreational society, unquote, but was to be the organizer of the effort to create a second civil war after the first one failed to achieve the goal of the bankers who had created it. For those wishing to know about the involvement of the men like Albert Pike and Jesse James, the famous outlaw and the other 33rd degree Freemason, additional details about this period are included in Ralph Epperson's video entitled Secret Societies and the New World Order, and in the book entitled The Unseen Hand. I have not read those or watched that. So, Mr. Pike had an interesting past. His book entitled Morals and Dogma is 861 pages long and appears to have an index of 218 pages added to its 1927 edition, which is the one I got. I got it for like $20 from this guy that I know that had 2, and he's willing to part with it, because I couldn't find it, and you couldn't check it at the library because they're reference copies, so they won't let you take them. But anyway, carrying on to the book that Ralph Epperson. I have 2 copies of this book, one being the original 1871 and the other 1871 with the 1927 index added. The book consists of 32 chapters. Each one of which was written, explain one of the 32 degrees of the Masonic order. There are drawings included, but generally seem to have been added only as a filler, rather than for assisting the reader to understand the writings of the book. It is this reviewer's opinion that the book is boring and difficult to read, but is a must be read because there is enough meaningful quotes inside of it to show the reader why the Masons consider it a valuable work. I consider the quotations that follow in the review taken from the inside of the book to be the most important of the volume. Should the reader wish to discuss this review or any pertinent matter of the study of the mission, he or she may contact me at the phone number or the address listed elsewhere in this booklet. It might be helpful to the student to examine the number of degrees in some of the various organizations inside the Masonic fraternity. There are two basic organizations inside the male-only Masonic Lodge system, the Scottish Rite and the York Rite, which, by the way, I think the York Rite has 13 degrees and the Scottish Rite 32. And it's 33 would be the honorary one, which would make it total of, 46? If you combine them both, which is the total chromosomes in the human body, but I'm just throwing that out there. Both of these organizations have as their base an organization known as the Blue Lodge of Masonry. This organization requires the new member to go through 3 separate initiation ceremonies called the degrees. And once the Mason has completed all 3 ceremonies, he can stop there, should he choose to do so. He can remain a Blue Lodge Mason, meaning that he has completed 3 degrees inside the Blue Lodge. Should he wish to go further, he may, but he has an option. He can do it either or both, should he choose to do so, of the 2 rites, either the York Rite or the Scottish Rite. The York Rite has 10 more degrees for a total of 13, and the Scottish Rite has 29 for a total of 32. And these degrees are earned by the initiate, and there is one more degree in the top of the organizations called the 33rd degree. That degree is honorary, and the member must be invited to become a 33rd degree Mason. He cannot ask to become a member of that degree. The Council of the 33rd degree Mason organization claims to be the parent organization that controls both of these 2 rites. They call themselves the Supreme Council of the 33rd degree, and their literature says they are the mother jurisdiction of the world, or the mother council of the world. So this organization claims to control all of the worldwide Masonry. The title page of this book, Morals and Dogma, says that it was prepared for the Supreme Council of the 33rd degree for the Southern jurisdiction of the United States and published by its authority. And it says it right here. Sweet. There is some disagreement inside the Masonic order as to whether or not Morals and Dogma is to be read by all the Scottish Rite Masons or the advanced degrees. When this reader visited the Masonic Lodge building in Tucson in 1985 to do some research in their library, Mackey's Encyclopedia, for my book entitled The New World Order, I was told the Masons inside the lodge that the book was given to all Masons upon completion of the 14th degree. However, Reg Hutchins, a 32nd degree Mason at the time, he later became a 33rd, perhaps as a recognition of his service to the lodge in writing his book entitled A Bridge to Light for them, and a Grand Master of his local lodge, denies that this statement is true. He has written the following on the page 7 of his book. The apex of our teachings has been the rituals of our degrees. Henry Wilson Coyle, a 33rd degree Freemason, wrote the following about Mr. Pike on page 472 of his book entitled Coyle's Masonic Encyclopedia. He rewrote the lectures, rituals, and laws of 33rd